So I feel the interest is really, really growing, but it's just that still, if the push comes from the parent, it's going to be much more easier for them not to put extra pressure, of course, because I've seen many of them just breaking the racket, which is not good sign at that young age. But just to let them be and push at the right time and let them enjoy the sport, and I'm sure with the kind of support they get from the coach and the trainer is good enough, and the results will follow by the age they're 12 or 13. Because I was lucky that I started at the age of 9, but I got the first international break at the age of 12. So within 2 years, 3 years, I was really good at the international level in the seniors. But not many have that kind of a graph. So they might take 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. So the early you start, the better it is. And nowadays I can see the change happening for sure.
So what you're saying is, in addition to inspiring young girls,
yes,
you're also inspiring the mothers.
Definitely. Mothers or
right?
father?
Or
Why not father?
Exactly.
Why not father? Definitely.
I can't keep up with my 8-year-old playing badminton, let me tell you. So, same question for you.
Yes, I'll give a prime example of my sport. When I started competing, when I used to go to our nationals, we had maybe 200 athletes across 15 disciplines in shooting. If you go to our nationals now, we have about 20,000 athletes who come to compete. So what a massive change that has been. Just 2 days ago, a young girl at age 15 just qualified for the Paris Olympic Games, Tilotema Sen. She's supported by the Reliance Foundation, and she qualified for Paris. So it just goes to show at such a young age, our athletes are making such an impact at a world level. I think it is wonderful to see. I think we also have to, on a word of caution, we also have to be a little bit careful here, because what we'll see in the course of the next 10 years is, or in the course of the next years, is a lot more young Indians will try and become elite athletes. What that will also mean is that a lot of young Indians are going to fail in sport, because that is the very nature of sport. We'll have much more failure than success. And there we have to do it properly. We have to really think of dual careers for our young athletes, try and incorporate a degree of education, a degree of skill building, as well as that goes with their athletic development. I think that is going to be critical in creating a sustainable model for our athletes to develop. But the signs are great, and I'm sure that many athletes across the board will shine through in the years to come.
I was going to, go ahead, you wanted to say something? No, my question was, when do you think, are we on the right road to get to the point where not just we produce champions, which is great, but that all children take part in sports and all children grow as a result of the fact that they've participated in sports? And are you seeing that, and what can you do as great athletes to encourage it?
I think the players nowadays in India, they've really been doing well, and all of them been in top 10, top 20. So I feel in future we require a lot more Indian players to become coaches as well, because we exactly know how we have come up, how we have trained. I still don't understand that we get best of the international coaches, paying them 10, 15 lakhs per month, and the Indian players are getting, 50,000 or 1 lakh? I don't know how the interest will come. I don't understand that, because we have been in this kind of culture where we know what exactly is going to happen next, or what steps to be taken to be the best player in the world. And I'm not denying you can get as many as coaches you want from international level, but the support of the local players are also required. And even the previous batch was not to be seen anywhere. They all have played at the world level, highest level. They have played with the best players in the world. But I think that's what I keep hearing from them, that why should we enter in the sport that when we don't get the proper support from the government or from the from anyone in the academy. So I feel bad that although I don't have much interest in coaching, but still in my whichever way I can support the kids and give them advice, because advice gives you a huge change. When I was only 13, Gopi sir stopped playing, and he came up to me saying that, you are vegetarian, how can you play at the world level? So that advice, imagine I started eating good amount of protein and, started looking much more fitter, getting endurance also by eating food helps a lot. So these small things, advice is really helped. So I might get into that or something, but we need more academies. We need more former players to come in and help the kids. And now we have 10 players in top 50. I'm sure we can have 100 in top 50. But it's just that one international coach is coming in the academy and we have like 300, 400, 500 players. How can you focus? One coach cannot focus on so many players. You need at least 5 players for one coach. And that can only happen if all the players come in as a team. And that's what happened in, again, the best countries where they produce good champions. They all have world champions, Olympic champions as their coaches. And they come into coaching after playing badminton. So this part, if we really look into, because if I just come into association and I don't know what badminton is, what am I going to do? So all the players, we have played for so many years, we know how it works. And if the players come into these things, I'm sure the changes can happen much faster. I'm not saying that's not happening at the moment, but it's very slow, right? Now we don't, after me and Sindhu, we don't even have any women player. And journalists are asking me why it's happening. How can I answer being a player at the moment? So imagine this situation is coming only because we have one coach looking after so many kids. And that way, hats off to cricket because the association is really strong. They can get as many as coaches, as many as trainers, physios, and of course the cricket is so big that the players are getting all kind of support, right? So I feel the other associations and other feel if they look up to these things, again these are very small things. If the players can come into coaches.
You have a very good group of people here. You can ask them anything you want. What would you want to ask them? They can fund anything and they can get anything done. So what would you like to ask them?
I think it's up to them finally. They can see the results are coming up. They're seeing all the sports are really getting that popularity which is required. But it is all because of the players' hard work. I can say the player the player really wants to do well. Still, the atmosphere is not so easy for the player. They have to buy 20,000 rupees racket, shoes are 15,000. It's so expensive. The sports are becoming very expensive. It's not easy for a talented player to continue badminton or any other sport. Shooting is very, very expensive. It's crazy. I can only see girls dreaming, "Mujhe shooter banna hai," but how is it going to be possible? I can see that because I communicate with them a lot more. So I'm not directly going to ask anything, but I'm sure they're looking.
I'll try and
ask. Yeah, you can ask.
Well, I think a lot of us, we're all after economic success, and I just like to cite one example. All the greatest economies of the world are also sporting superpowers. And I think, and my belief is that they've become economic superpowers because sport has played a very important role in shaping their societies. So just keep that in mind.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Any last words for the audience? So I will ask on your behalf, since you were a little nervous. You have some of the biggest philanthropists here. You have some of the biggest folks who are sponsoring sports, who are excited by it. So I think now you've all heard what each sport needs, and you can ask this group to help you get it. So on behalf of you and you, I'm going to ask all of them to support the sport so that we become not just an economic superpower, but also a sporting superpower.
I'll come back to you for that one. Huh?
Thank you. Let's thank both of our...
Thank you, Adil. And hopefully the capacity building includes sports also. A couple of months ago, I was walking next to Times Square, and I heard the sound of music coming in from the square itself. And it was basically Hindi Urdu music of Mughal-e-Azam. And I walked close by, a huge crowd, and you have a troupe of dancers singing to the tune of Mughal-e-Azam in Times Square. It sends a sense of pride, but also it kind of softens the image of the country, a country which has such a deep culture. You go to inner part of China or Russia or other part, they will talk about the Indian movies. And again, I just would like to emphasize that it takes the rising power of India it's seen as a soft power. And culture plays a very, very pivotal role. So we do have Ambassador Sarna. As a professional, he has been a diplomat. We got to know him when he was the ambassador to US, and he brought in a lot of Indian culture into the US environment. Also, in part-time and now full-time, he writes both fiction and non-fiction. So, Ambassador Sarna, good to have you here. Please come on the stage. So, Feroz Abbas Khan, that was his play and music which was playing in Times Square. Eminent writer, director, and he was one of the first, basically, person to direct some of the greatest studios such as Prithvi Studio. His movie, Gandhi, My Father, was an acclaimed movie, won a lot of awards, and now he has a play going, a musical going on, Civilization to Nation, The Journey of Our Nation, which is opened in the Nita Ambani Cultural Center. So Mr. Khan, good to have you. Please come on the stage. Ambassador, over to you.
Thank you, Mukesh. Great honor to be sharing the stage with you, with such an eminent film and theater personality. I'm going to take you through a couple of questions, but you're going to do the talking, as Adil has already set the trend. So what was the American response to Jab Pyar Kiya To Darna Kya?
I think we've been overwhelmed by what really happened. One of the things was that when productions went from India, as you know that what goes out from India is normally classical traditions mostly, classical music, classical dances, and they are individuals and they are great performers. But for the first time, they saw something as an ensemble production, and a production that was of an international standard, because we would go and do in small spaces and do small plays and come back. But here was a production that was of the highest standard. So for the American audience, it was something that they hadn't seen, because it was very different than what they see and watch. And for the Indians, it was a sense of pride that finally we do have a production that you could call it of an international standard that is as good as a Broadway or any other production. So I think that was the overwhelming feeling. People felt very proud that we could do it.
But you toured all of America,
Yes.
13 cities.
Yeah.
And was this uniform? Were you able to get to the American audiences?
The American audiences were few, not as many as we would like, because it was the first time, but they were there, because we do have, English subtitles. And most of the time that they saw, they were quite affected by the story. They were affected by technical finesse that we had put up. And the fact that you had a production that was so colorful, and also it had so much to offer in terms of the music and dance, which normally they don't get to see. So it was a very robust production that they encountered.
Was it a huge challenge? I mean, you had 150 crew cast.
Yeah.
Was it a huge challenge in terms of technicalities and
Yes.
doing a kind of a Broadway?
Yeah, I mean, we actually, it was interesting to understand that our production was bigger than some of the Broadway productions. So the theaters that we needed had to be much bigger than they house a Broadway production. So it was a great challenge, because we were like about 150. We were at about 10 55-feet containers traveling from one place to the other. And to put up that show in a few days, the technical challenges were huge, but we managed to do it.
Any incidents, anything which you said, oh my God, what have I got into?
Well, not really. I mean, we managed nothing really that interesting.
And the new one, the new musical?
The new musical is actually, the architect of that production is Mrs. Nita
And
Ambani.
you opened the Nita Ambani Center?
Yes, I mean, this perhaps is much bigger than Mughal-e-Azam.
Wow.
And it is her vision, it is her idea. She wanted to do something very, very special as a tribute, as an ode to this nation, this civilization. So it's called Civilization to Nation. She's the inspiration behind it, and she said, we want to do something that should make India very proud. And I think that's at the heart of what she wants to do always. She wants to make India very proud. And that was a brief, and she says we should trace from where we started as a civilization and where we are now. And that was a brief, and that was the production.
And now what are the plans for that? Are you taking it abroad?
I think we do have...
After Broadway, is it West End?
No, I think this particular production, Civilization to Nation, is still to fulfill its promise in India, because it's so much of demand. The moment we open up, it's house full. But I think it needs to be performed there, but we do have plans to take it around the world.
Of course, now you have a fabulous center and you can do this.
Yeah.
But can you replicate it in other parts of India, or do we don't have the...
No, we don't have that kind of infrastructure in India. This theatre, Nita Ambani Theatre, let me tell you one thing, is that I've traveled all over the world. It's one of the best in the world. It's not the best in India. It's one of the best in the world. The facilities it has... And what it has is very interesting. Normally what happens, people have money and they build these things and forget about it. But here is a person who's personally involved in everything. The kind of micro details at which you go. So it's not just she's built the theater and left it. She is involved in everything, and that shows. And the best part of it is that when you go to Nita Ambani Center, you feel very welcome. You feel it's a family welcoming a family. That's the kind of center that she has built. So it's a great tribute to what she has done.
That is indeed a great tribute coming from somebody who knows what you're doing. But since you mentioned that, do you think it's also a place which can attract major musicals from abroad?
It is doing that. That's what the whole idea, as she's been saying all along, the best of India and the best of the world. And that's what's happening there.
Great. So is the musical going to be the latest expression of our soft power? I mean, Indian film has always been, right from Raj Kapoor onwards, etc. But then, is today the musical going to catch the imagination of the world as an Indian product?
I don't like the word power and conquer and all those kind of things, because I think what art does, what culture does, it's influence. And it is not that we are influencing now. India as a culture has influenced the world for centuries. It's not now. Our ideas and the kind of things that we have done in music, in dance, and in drama has been for centuries. So as a civilization, we have influenced the world for a very long time. We influence and we inspire. We don't want to conquer anybody. That's not who we are.
That's right. Going a bit away from these major productions of yours and going a bit into your own journey as an artist, you seem to have moved completely 360 degrees from the minimalism of Tumhari Amrita, where you had even an ideological problem putting two tables on stage rather than one table. But from Tumhari Amrita of 1992-93 to this opulence of Mughal-e-Azam and Civilization to Nation. Tell us about that journey.
Well, I think that every time I succeed, I feel that nothing feels like success. So one has to be very careful with that. So every time you succeed, you feel that if you repeat success, you won't go on repeating success, then a time will come when you fail, you will not know how to get up. But if you are pursuing excellence, then I suppose that's your journey. So every time you do something, you should just negate that. You should just forget about that and take up another challenge. So for me, going from nothing to everything was a great challenge. And I said, I need to challenge myself. I must encounter failure. I think this fear of failure takes you back, so that you sort of get into being
Where was the failure?
Well, I think that Mughal-e-Azam failure was written all over it. Everybody thought that, you know, I was making the biggest mistake of my life to take on a classic, because a classic has memories, people have invested in them. In fact, Mughal-e-Azam gave a vocabulary of love to the people they could express, because in our culture, expressing love is very difficult. So Mughal-e-Azam did that. And then you had a classic, and you was touching a classic which people felt you shouldn't do that. And 3 days before the show, I thought it was the biggest mistake of my life. So I was quoting a huge what is called risk in my career and everything I put into it. And I suppose that was it, that I said, well, I'll do it, no matter what. If it fails, fine, it's to be a learning. But failure is not a setback, it should be a learning. I said, I'll take a learning in my life and do Mughal-e-Azam. That's the way it happened.
So you made a deliberate change from being a minimalist to...
Absolutely. Because I thought that I was becoming too comfortable and I was repeating myself. I was bored of myself, honestly speaking. Yeah. So I said, I need to...
And is that the reason that you moved from pure theatre occasionally to film and to now these...
Yes. I think the film was that I had done a play called Mahatma versus Gandhi. And I'm hugely instructed by Gandhi. I'm hugely moved by Gandhi. So when the play came in, a lot of people wanted to make a film out of that. And so they approached me. And finally, I was reluctant because cinema is not my medium. But I reluctantly made the film Gandhi, My Father. And I wanted to tell this story because you do have a Gandhi that has been made by Richard Attenborough. But there was also a personal Gandhi. A Gandhi, a more humanized Gandhi, a Gandhi you can touch, a Gandhi you can understand and experience what he was.
A Gandhi who was father to the nation but not father to his son.
Not necessarily. He was the best father to his children. But that does not mean that takes Gandhi. He could be a failed father, but he was a great idea for the world. So that was a great thing to deal with. That Gandhi may have not, and you could argue that. Because all great men, they have to make sacrifice. And mostly the sacrifices are with the family. The families make you sacrifice. Nelson Mandela did that. And he had a broken family. But he had a better world. So when you are fighting for a better world, there are sacrifices. And normally it's the families that make the sacrifice. And that to me was fascinating about Gandhi, my father. And that's the reason I took that subject.
And you came out seeing Gandhi as an even greater person after these two ventures?
Absolutely. He's a greater person because he's flawed. And yet at the same time, he's great. And because what we do with Gandhi, that either we make him so unreal or we go after him. Okay, so we do either the two. There are kind of a bipolar way in which we with Gandhi, but there's a Gandhi somewhere in between. And that's the Gandhi which is very interesting.
So it's a Mahatma as the man.
It's a Mahatma and the man at the same time. So and that's where Gandhi, my father, was.
It's been written about you that, theater is so much your essential DNA that it tends to come into everything, even your films. Is that true?
Well, I think if you're influenced by something, it would come. But that doesn't mean that when I do a film, I'm doing a play. I'm doing film, but I do come from, like, for example, if you're a painter and you're making a film, what your core competence is, it will come. You'll have a visual film because if you're a painter. So if I'm coming from theater, there are certain structural ideas I have, there are certain aesthetics I have, which I will bring into cinema. So cinema gets enriched by that, and not reduced by that.
Yeah, the New York Times called your play, Mahatma versus Gandhi, one of the greatest plays in English to have come out of India. So why not some more of those?
We mean the plays?
Yeah.
Well, I am doing plays and I'll be doing more plays.
Take them abroad.
Well, most of the work that I have done have gone abroad.
Are going abroad.
They will go abroad. So I have been traveling all the time with my plays.
And is this, the change of the idiom that's happening in the media, or mediums rather, with the onset of the OTT platforms, etc. Is that sort of cutting into theater and to some extent even proper large-scale cinema?
On the contrary, I think theater, as we see that post-COVID, we are watching a new phenomena. There are more audiences coming for live experiences because human being wants to watch live human beings. So there'll be more people going for live experiences. And I feel, in fact, that OTT and all that, they are different mediums in which you consume entertainment. You can have the biggest star in your pocket in OTT, but if you want to watch a play, you've got to come to the theater. And that's a huge difference. So you've got to come and see live people on that big stage and that cinema, that hall that you come in, so you make all that effort. And so for that, I think theater will only grow. It won't be reduced. It's not a competition at all.
Oh, that's very encouraging. But when you say the people come to see live people, you've attacked, different kind of very hard issues.
Yes.
And you've sort of delved into pure fantasy and romance and large-scale glamour. Given the ugliness of the world outside today, frankly, there are wars, there's conflict, there's death. What do you think we should be doing? Should we take people away from the real world, or should we bring the issues back home?
Well, I think that theater has always works beautifully when it engages with the contemporary issues. And so all the work that I have done, you could say Mughal-e-Azam is a more kind of fantasy and so on and so forth. The rest of them engages with the contemporary consciousness of the society. Now, the only thing is that theater is not very good when it is literal. It's very beautiful when it is metaphorical. So it's a very unique medium. It's a different medium. It should speak in its language. When it tries to become a place where it tries to speak directly, its power reduces. So we have a way of speech. We use language for more power, for economy, but hugely affecting emotions. And that's why when we do in theater, if we need to say something political, we do it in the language of theater, which is very different, the language of journalism, language of cinema, or for that matter, documentary. And that language is very powerful. And the theater has to engage. If it doesn't engage with what's happening around the world, it becomes one more place to escape.
As a writer, I have a question, as in terms of, you said the language is very important.
Yes.
Is there enough good theater writing coming out in India? Because we do have the classics, we do have our, mythological experiences. We do depend a lot on plays, say Ibsen and others.
Yeah.
But do we have good Indian theater writing plays coming out in India?
In India, there are two places where you have a lot of urban theater, robust theater, because let me not get into our folk and tribal tradition, which is different. But if you look at urban theater, it comes from Maharashtra and it comes from Bengal, a lot of them. And of course, Kerala also writes. But it comes to the Marathi theater in Maharashtra that it has some outstanding writing. You will see some great plays written continuously because it's a very, very live theater. It's a theater where the audiences are continuously watching them. It's not that people go there just for a cultural obeisance. They do it because they are engaged in those issues that are being spoken on the stage. So Marathi theater is creating some excellent writing. Not the same in Hindi, because a lot of them go into Hindi cinema, and there's much more money to be made in TV, soaps, and so on and so forth. So we are not getting great writing. The last great play, according to me, was called Andha Yug, written by Dharamveer Bharti, about the aftermath of Mahabharata. Thereafter, we haven't had great writing. But if you look at Marathi theatre, they're continuously coming up. At least there is one or two play of international standard every year coming out of Marathi theatre.
Feroz Abbas Khan, I read somewhere that you wanted to give all this up for cricket.
Yeah, I used to play cricket in my college, and I wanted to be a cricketer actually, and that was it. But I was very bad, not as good. I would say that I was average in cricket, but I was better in theatre, so I decided to do theatre.
So instead of Sachin Tendulkar, it became Vijay Tendulkar.
Vijay Tendulkar was to me perhaps more attractive at that time, yeah. Sachin Tendulkar wasn't maybe there around.
Thank you very much for being here, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Saranam, Mr. Khan. Before we go into the award ceremony, I'd like to invite Meenakshi Lekhi, the Minister of State for External Affairs and Minister of State for Culture. She is a lawyer by practice, Supreme Court, Delhi High Court, but more important is she's focused a lot in empowering women and protecting children's rights in India. Ms. Lekhi, over to the stage. Over to you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, pleasure and honor being here. It's a very privileged moment when we are recognizing people who have done well, not only for themselves, but for the country and people at large. And the background is USSIPF Awards for cultural work and the corporate social responsibility, global leadership, and global leadership representing India. I think nothing can be better than that for any Indian. Proud moment for all of us that an Indian gets that award, especially for philanthropy, because I feel many a times Indians are not known for the philanthropy, not because they don't do it, but they don't tabulate it. The best part is that most Indians on daily basis are engaged in some activity or the other, but it doesn't get recognized. And it is considered as part of the religious practice or some other practice, but not in terms of where you can showcase to the world that this is the kind of work which is needed. Government for a Change has been very, very focused on sports, on cultural activities in the country. And during this period, especially the last 9.5 years, you would have seen plenty of changes. And I wouldn't go and say that everything is being conducted very well, but a lot of work has gone into it. And we definitely have a problem of plenty, because there is plenty to be done, there is plenty which is available, there's plenty which needs to be conserved and preserved. And what needs to be conserved and preserved are the traditions of this beautiful country, an ancient country that too. Usually I would end up by saying that I'm a very proud Indian, take a lot of pride in my textiles and practices and celebrations and festivities and architecture and design and so on and so forth. But one lifetime is not enough to know my country, its practices, its cultural values, its diversity. So more we engage, the more we do, and more needs to be done. I'm very happy that the changes which we are seeing right now, whether in the form of sports finale finishing in recent Asian Games, Special Olympics, and cultural festivities which are going on across the country, from Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav to 31st Meri Mati Mera Desh, UNESCO World Heritage Tags for plenty of Indian ancient buildings, architectural buildings from 7th century, 11th century from across India, celebrating Durga Puja, getting a UNESCO tag for it, making a village in Kutch as one of our tourism destination and UNESCO tag for it, Ramappa Temple. So most of our art and craft, and especially in the ancient times, have been around our religious practices. I can't but stop myself from mentioning Nathdwara paintings, for example, the Pat Chitra. These paintings had lost their relevance in the modern times. And I'm very happy Reliance Foundation did a lot of work in restoring that and did fantastically well in restoring patolas, because the double likat is something which is so beautiful, and yet only 4 or 5 families which can work on this technique. And the more you go around the world, and more you realize that our extended neighborhood today, but in earlier times our ancient neighbors, the entire CIS countries, you'll find one form of the ikat or the other. And I laughingly say, but for the artificial country in between, they were our right neighbors. And the ikat patterns you see, you can make out that these are the traditional trade routes which contributed in cultural ties much deeper than any platform available today can. And in this process, whether it's project of Namami Gange or it's Meri Mati Mera Desh or Swachh Bharat, everything is linking up various activities, stakeholders, corporate bodies, municipalities, the national governments, the state governments, and everybody is coming around to performing their part of the duty. And thus, when Prime Minister rightly says that now India has entered Amrit Kal, and this Amrit Kal is the time which is going to make it relevant for all of us to abide by our kartavya, the duties, not just the rights in the format of rights, but the duties which we all owe to our citizens, which we all owe to our country. And in this field of performing duties, I must speak about the US-India ties. Right from 1947 till now, we've seen all kinds of ups and downs in the relationship. And beginning from 1947, I think the strategic terms, this has been the most positive phase. The last post-90s has been the positive phase when ties have been more strategic in nature, and we have far more in common than any 2 countries in the world. We are diverse, we value a rule of law, and democracies are always chaotic. They are more argumentative. And those are the values which we preserve, conserve, and even to the extent celebrate. So when we are working on digitization, resurgence of Indian culture, value system, working on sports, the highest medal tally till date is what we have got done recently. And I know how corporates also came around in working towards hitting the podium, working towards the podium, picking up their favorite sports to cultivate, to give better training to the athletes, making sure that nutritional management is done the right way. So for all that background work which has happened in this country, I think it's rightfully the right moment to celebrate all that is happening in India. And let's celebrate each other, let's celebrate togetherness, and let's celebrate the right ideals for working together. With these words, thank you very much. Jai Hind, and I wish to congratulate Ms. Ambani to be here and receiving this prestigious award for doing well, not only in representing Reliance Industry, but doing the real work which needs to be done under the corporate social responsibility, preserving, conserving traditions, preserving, conserving, and taking forward the values which our ancestors for a few thousand BC till now had conserved and preserved without any patronage, and not because there were no difficulties, but in spite of difficulties, and giving them patronage, building cultural centers, taking the art forward, vocal for local, resilient India. All that is getting combined in one simple activity of celebrating India, and through the responsible act of corporate social responsibility. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Ms. Lakey. Let me ask John to come on the stage and basically talk about the awardee and talk about 2023 Global Leadership Award for Philanthropy and Corporate Social Responsibility. John?
Yes, thank you. Very often you learn more about a person by watching how the people interact with her or him. The people that view because of their deeds and their capabilities, the people that work with you on a close basis, the people that see you as an image of your country and of the world. And far too often we tend to focus on leadership just from an economic point of view. And especially as things get tough, we forget about the corporate social responsibility, the giving back, the passion. But when you look about leaders in these categories, they have a common set of characteristics, whether it's the political side, the economic, the society sides, and you do two of those three remarkably well. But what they do is they have an ability to dream, to somehow see what is possible before others see it. And then they have the courage to take risk, knowing that there's downsides when you take risk. And then they have an ability to share those dreams and inspire hope and motivate people around them to do things they're not able to do otherwise. And they have the ability, and I love the terms, to get into the detail, to see how things are working in terms of the direction. It is so important to India's future to have the role models at the political level, and there's several of them here in this room, the role models in terms of the business successes. But to me, the most important role model you have is, as you're successful, how do you give back? And how you do it at a different scale. I have not seen somebody give back on the interdependencies that you have, Nita. Your ability to combine concepts, and you watch great leaders, and I talked earlier about my admiration for your Prime Minister. They have the ability to picture the whole scope, to say how the pieces tie together toward a digital India, to understand the social implications of that, and to be able to drive it through with action and results. You have the ability to do this in a way I've never seen for somebody that gives back. So often people do it in silos, or they do it in not related areas. Your ability to change the confidence of this country, the ability to make it inclusive across all men and women around the country, to be the admiration when women and little kids come up and look at you, and you can see in their eyes how you are their role model. And that's what you need, whether it's in sport, in politics, or others. To me, I had the good fortune, mainly because I was at the right point at the right time, to receive a lot of awards. But the one, as I said earlier, that mattered to me the most were the Corporate Social Responsibility Awards in the U.S., from the Democrats and the Republicans in the administration, and here for the Padma Bhushan Award. To me, I want to thank you for being a role model for all of us. And very often people say it was a role model for women and for children, and the ability to bring dreams to life in terms of affordable health care, but world class. You are a role model for all of us men in this room. I want you to join me in welcoming a truly global leader, Nita Ambani. Please come up. Oh, you got it. Whoops.
We have a video to play. Please.
So they're backing me up with a film here.
It is rare to find those who push boundaries not only for themselves, but challenge status quo in order to change the lives of millions. Nita Ambani is a trailblazer who has transformed challenges into opportunities with her grit, determination, and creativity. Today, she is an inspiring legacy for generations to come. A daughter, a wife, a mother, an accomplished dancer, a sports enthusiast, and a true visionary. We honor her outstanding contributions to India and the world. Nita Ambani's early years were rooted in a humble background, where she learned the values of hard work and perseverance. Her determination paved the way for her remarkable journey. She translated her vision one step at a time, inspiring dreamers worldwide through her warmth, resilience, and perfectionism.
When you think about what has been an amazing job, and this is Nita Ambani, how she's changed things in terms of being the founder of the Reliance Foundation, how she's taken key concepts of protecting women and children and making a difference in their lives going forward.
As the first Indian woman to be an honorary trustee on the board of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, her commitment to preserving and promoting India's art and culture is truly exceptional. Back home, she played a pivotal role behind the Nita Ambani Cultural Center, where her vision for promoting art and culture has made it an inspiring space for future generations. As the first Indian woman elected to the International Olympic Committee, she revitalized India's Olympic spirit and is working relentlessly to bring the Games to India.
India will once again open its arms to the world, not just as a host, but as a torchbearer for the Olympic movement.
Fueled by her undying love for sport, she was also successful in introducing cricket as an Olympic sport, as well as encouraging the Women Premier League. Her story is a beacon of hope for many. Her efforts in the transformation of healthcare is visible in her Health for All programs that is reaching the very heart of rural India, touching countless lives. A teacher at heart, she is a strong believer in the transformative power of education and has spearheaded initiatives to provide better schooling for children in remote villages, while also providing leadership to 14 schools, including the Dhirubhai Ambani International School. Nita Ambani champions women's rights, empowering them through vocational training, enabling them to reshape their own destinies. Her foundation's support in reducing disaster risks and promoting climate-resilient practices are only some of the many initiatives that she is driving. Let's come together to celebrate Mrs. Nita Ambani, a visionary taking India's heritage, art, sports, health, and education to the world.
Congratulations, Nita, for achieving the USISPF 2023 Corporate Leadership Award for Philanthropy and Corporate Social Responsibility.
On behalf of your many well-wishers and admirers, I congratulate you on receiving the USISPF award.
I just want to join the chorus of voices saying thank you very much for all your hard work and all the success with the Reliance Foundation.
Congratulations on this great honor on behalf of the U.S.-India Strategic Partnership Forum. Your work on women's issues, on children's issues, on sports, on arts is simply indescribable.
Congratulations, Mrs. Nita Ambani. As a wonderful mother, a wife, a businesswoman, and a leader, you have focused on improving the lives of citizens of India. May I ask Ms. Ambani to come on the stage? John, please join us. I'm also going to ask Abhinav Bitra. Sign up, please come on the stage. Mr. Khan, please.
Congratulations. It's exciting. Please, Mukesh, come. You got to come right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and dear friends, Namaskar. I'm delighted to be here with all of you today. Thank you, Mr. John Chambers, Dr. Mukesh Aghi, and the board of the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum for this honor. I deeply appreciate the USI SPF and its leadership for being a strong bridge in deepening the natural bonds between India and the US. In just 6 years, your forum has strengthened people-to-people and business-to-business ties between India and the US. Today, I accept this award with humility and gratitude on behalf of my entire team. I represent the beating heart of Reliance, our beacon of hope and empowerment, the Reliance Foundation. At Reliance, doing good and giving back has always been a way of life. Long before CSR became a norm, Reliance has been fulfilling our CMR, our corporate moral responsibility. It has now transformed into our philosophy of we care. We care for the planet, we care for humanity, and we care for our nation. Today, I would like to take this opportunity to reflect on my journey with you. In the 1990s, Mukesh was setting up the world's largest refinery in Jamnagar, and he asked me to help him build the township and school there. At that time, we worked out of tin sheds in the scorching heat and dust with temperatures as high as 42 degrees Celsius in an arid desert land with no greenery to provide relief. Back then, I was the only woman working alongside 75,000 men who would call me Sir. Our township is now a bustling green community, bursting with flowers and fruits, flourishing with flora and fauna, housing lakhs of trees and Asia's largest mango orchard, and home to thousands of families living joyously together. My work in Jamnagar taught me how to bring about transformation at the grassroots. I began by working first with my family, then for the Reliance family and thousands of our children. That widened my horizon and enabled me to understand what it meant to positively impact millions of lives. This is how we formally established the Reliance Foundation in 2010. Through its various activities, Reliance Foundation has so far touched the lives of 71 million Indians. From culture to climate, from education and sports to women's empowerment, from healthcare to livelihoods, and from rural transformation to disaster management. We work in all states and across 55,000 villages across India. Friends, it gives me immense satisfaction to share the work of Reliance Foundation in 4 areas that are critical for enriching the enormous and enviable human resource of India. Education for all, sport for all, health for all, and art and culture for all. I started my career as a teacher. Education has been the greatest passion of my life. I call our schools temples of joy. Today, we run 14 schools, including the Nita Ambani International School. Now, in its 20th year, it has been ranked the #1 international school in India for 11 consecutive years. It's a happy school where learning is a pleasure and teaching a joy. In a few days from now, we are inaugurating our new school, the Nita Ambani Junior School. Led by my daughter Isha, this new school is envisioned as a model school of the future with an Indian soul. I believe children learn as much in the playgrounds as they do in classrooms. Through our education and Sports for All program, we have so far reached out to 22 million youngsters across multiple sports all over India. In all of human history, there has never been a more magical force to promote peace, friendship, health, fitness, motivation, and joy than sport. It is the ultimate unifier and energizer. My own journey with sport started with cricket at the age of 44, when most sports persons retire. I took charge of Mumbai Indians in 2009, and today MI is one of the most loved and successful teams in the IPL. With an expanding global footprint, we now have 5 teams in 4 countries, MI men's and MI women's teams in India, MI Cape Town, MI Abu Dhabi, and MI New York. But what is really close to my heart is that MI is known as the nursery of cricket. We have discovered and nurtured young talent like Hardik Pandya, Krunal Pandya, Jasprit Bumrah, and several others. We are proud that our latest find, the young and talented 20-year-old Tilak Verma, has found a place in the Indian squad. In 2014, I started our football league, the Indian Super League, which is now celebrating its 10th year, with 12 clubs and a mission to grow the beautiful game of football in our country. This was a part of a broader vision to make India a multi-sporting nation. I'm proud to share that this month we hosted the 141st International Olympic Committee session in Mumbai. With this historic session, we brought the Olympic movement back to our country after a gap of 40 years. And that's not all. As John mentioned, at this session, the IOC made cricket an Olympic sport. After 128 years, cricket will make an entry at the Olympics in the US at the LA Games in 2028. And maybe, as we take cricket to the US, we might bring baseball to India. The exchange of sports is an exchange of dreams and friendships. It's a story of fortitude and resilience. Just 2 days ago, 16-year-old Sheetal Devi from Jammu and Kashmir made India proud by becoming the world's first female armless archer to win 2 golds and 1 silver medal at the Asian Para Games. Sheetal's story is a powerful reminder that with courage, perseverance, and self-belief, the human spirit can defy all odds. Under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Bhai Modi, India will bid for the 2030 Youth Olympic Games and 2036 Summer Olympic Games. As an IOC member and a proud Indian, I remain committed to making this dream a reality. Friends, our commitment to health for all is best exemplified by Sir H.N. Reliance Foundation Hospital in Mumbai. It is almost 100 years old institution which we modernized. Our hospital has had the honor of caring for the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi. The new Sir H.N. Reliance Foundation Hospital was inaugurated by Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji in the year 2014. In less than a decade, it has become the #1 hospital in Mumbai and one of the best in India. But beyond all these accolades, for us, what really matters is that every life is precious. Our vision is to make world-class, affordable healthcare accessible for all. Friends, if I'm a teacher at heart, my soul is that of a dancer. At the age of 6, I began learning Bharatanatyam. When we were young, there weren't enough platforms or facilities for young artists, especially amateur artists. For my own Arangetram, I remember my father couldn't find a theatre that we could afford. And finally, we had to do it in a temple in Matunga in Mumbai. Today, I can proudly say that we have created the finest new temple of arts for all, the Nita Ambani Cultural Center. It has taken me over 50 years of being a dancer and 10 years of devotion and dedication to bring the NMACC to life. It's the first of its kind multidisciplinary center in India that has 3 performing art theatres, an art house, and spaces to host traveling exhibitions from international museums. Our vision is to showcase the best of India to the world and bring the best of the world to India. Over the last 7 months, we have welcomed over 10,000 visitors every day from across India and the world. Friends, New India is making tremendous strides in multiple fields of development. The onus is on us to make it inclusive. Therefore, I would like to end by sharing with you 3 causes that are very close to my heart. First, the role of women in our society. The future of a nation is shaped by the empowerment of its women. For I firmly believe that what women cannot do cannot be done. Representation must begin at home. For Mukesh and I, whatever our sons Akash and Anant can do, our daughter Isha can do too. Similarly, at Reliance Foundation, we have launched many initiatives to enable and empower women across the country. We have also partnered with international organizations like USAID, Vital Voices, and most recently, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to support livelihoods and entrepreneurships amongst women. When we support and celebrate women, we are also sending out a strong message to the little girls watching, a message that they are unstoppable and that nothing is impossible for them. Second, the role of art and culture in our society. For me personally, the most heartwarming experience at NMACC has been Swadesh, our humble initiative to preserve and promote India's age-old arts and crafts. Swadesh highlights the spirit of Make in India and offers respect and sustenance to our skilled craftsmen and women. India is a home to over 4,000 traditional arts and handicrafts and over 70 lakh artisans. They are truly the pride of our nation. These artisans have learnt at the feet of their fathers and grandfathers. Their skills have been passed down from one generation to the next. Nowhere in the world will you find such depth and diversity and heritage. For instance, Pichwai, one of the world's oldest living art forms, practiced in the temple town of Nathdwara in Rajasthan. When I visited Nathdwara in 2015, I was heartbroken to see that our Pichwai artists had no form of sustenance. They had given up their artistic legacy and taken up jobs like sewage cleaning and bricklaying. That's when the seeds of Swadesh were sown. So now it's our greatest honor to expand Swadesh not just in India but internationally too, giving a global platform to India's traditional artists and artisans. Swadesh isn't just an initiative, it's a movement that aims to galvanize our cultural legacy and transform it into a global renaissance for Indian arts and crafts. And third, the development of our children and shaping the future generations to build an India that can be a role model for the world. There are over 250 million children in India's schooling system, many of them from underprivileged families. At Reliance Foundation, our vision is to connect all these children through the power of 5G to the best of learning resources and opportunities. Imagine the transformation it will unleash when these 250 million children join the workforce as skilled and empowered young girls and boys. Their dreams will shape India's destiny. They will not just inherit our world, but reinvent it with their passion, their energy, and their vision. Mukesh and I are committed to dedicating ourselves to creating a bright future for the coming generations. Let us all together nurture and invest in our children. They will create the world of our dreams. They will build bridges where there are barriers. They will turn challenges into opportunities. They will embody hope in a world that needs it now more than ever before. So friends, let's provide our children the one thing that we owe them: a safe, healthy, hopeful, and happy childhood. And they will do the rest. They will shape a better, brighter, kinder, greener, and happier world for all of us. Thank you. Jai Hind. Thank you.